Welcome back to the news at 10 as Channels Television marks 21 years of professional broadcasting in Nigeria. Other stations have been felicitating with the station. One of such is Lagos Television, whose management team today paid a courtesy visit to the chairman of the Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, at the station's headquarters in Isheri. LTV's general manager, Mr. Deji Balogun, extolled Channels Television's inroads in the industry, saying it has opened a new vista of opportunities for upcoming players. In his response, Mr. Momo thanked the team and promised to sustain the tempo and further up his game.
For 21 years, Channels has continued to lead, and that is manifest in your winning the TV station of the year for 10 years. But be that as it may, we want to seize the opportunity of this visit to extend our hand of fellowship. And on that premise, as an industry leader, we have come with a hand of fellowship for us to collaborate, especially in the area of training, in a technical partnership, where we feel we need some hints on how to get it right.
I'm very happy with all that you've said. I think that the feeling is very mutual. As I said, you're somebody that I also know that can do the job very well, and I appreciate your team in LWT. The mantra of Lagos Television and Lagos Weekend Television is well known. I know your focus, and I monitor you, and I know what you do, and I think you're doing it very well. Local content is key, so that is where we have an edge over every other person who's coming into the country. So in that area, we can collaborate, we can work together in training, we can work together in the area of marketing intelligence, we can also work together in the area of research and documentation, and we can work together in the area of training, as I've mentioned.
A few days ago, the House of Representatives gave an indication that the 2014 National Conference report would be adopted by the National Assembly in amending the 1999 Constitution. This move has been applauded by most analysts who say the problem of governance in Nigeria has been that of continuity in programs. The two-volume report handed over to the present government by Dr. Goodluck Jonathan on May 29, 2014, has some recommendations that, if implemented, may help in cementing the practice of federalism in Nigeria. Take a look at some of the recommendations of this conference and the move by the National Assembly to adopt it. I'm now being joined at the news at 10 by one of those who was instrumental to the making of that report, Dr. Abiola Akiode Afolabi, a delegate of the conference. You're welcome to the news at 10.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. The fate of this document has always been uncertain. So now that there's talk about the National Assembly saying it wants to adopt it into the 1999 Constitution, do you think this is a dream come true?
Well, I think it's a good development, especially given what has been said about the National Conference report, particularly by the present government. The government is supposed to be a continuum. After Jonathan, we have the Buhari regime, and I believe that every government must be interested in anything that could add to the value of its policy direction. What the House of Rep has done is quite commendable, because there are issues that they are looking at presently that have been resolved by the National Conference. So it's a persuasive document which can add value to what they are doing. I think it's something that we should commend as Nigerians.
More than 600 resolutions contained in that report were passed through consensus by the 494 delegates to the conference. If you're one of those who consider this amendment to the House, what should get priority?
Well, I think for Nigerian people, first and foremost is the Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution. The Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution, as it is today, is not justiciable. And one of the proposals from the recommendation of the National Conference is to ensure that that section is justiciable. So if we are doing anything to change our Constitution, Chapter 2, it's important to Nigerians generally, as regards issue of poverty, health, and a whole lot of other things, which before you cannot enforce before the courts. And that's one of the things that the National Conference had discussed. And I want to also say there are some major decisions, for example, decisions relating to national security. We have over 800 entry, if you want to come into Nigeria, there are about 800 illegal entries around the country. So the National Conference had talked about strengthening the border, and also proposing that there should be border guards. And they also discussed issues of revenue sharing, the devolution of power, the issue of having two-tier police, one at the federal, one at the state, and a whole lot of issues, including the issue of having the Attorney General of the Federation and the Attorney General of the federal government, which were issues that the House of Representatives is considering. So I believe that there are a lot of issues from the conference recommendation that can be very useful to the present government.
I'm afraid this is where we have to leave the discussion. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Dr. Akiode Afolabi.
You're welcome.
Leaders of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have been urged to provide opportunity for youth in the region to be gainfully employed to avoid a breakdown of law and order in the region. This advice is coming from former President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who welcomed members of the ECOWAS community at his home in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. The former president said he was displeased with the region's inability to be sufficiently able to provide food for its citizens and describes as shameful the over-reliance on foreign countries supplying food.
That all of us in West Africa, in our different countries in West Africa, and indeed in Africa, we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder for as long as we do not pay adequate attention to youth unemployment. A situation where more than 50% of our youth are unemployed is extremely dangerous. We now have a situation in part of West Africa where people now are dying of starvation. Is it that we are not producing enough food? Or if we are producing enough, we are not distributing them evenly? We are not distributing what we produce evenly? Whatever it is shameful.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Let's head on to the world of business now with Adeshawa Josh.
You first. First Bank.
Thank you, Amarachi. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Business News. The central bank has reported that the nation's purchase in manager index fell to 41.9 index points in June, compared to 45.8 in the preceding month. The report reveals that the manufacturing sector saw a decline in production level, new orders, and raw material inventories at a faster rate in the period under review. According to the CBN, 14 of the 16 manufacturing sub-sectors recorded decline in June. The appliances and components, as well as transportation equipment subsectors, however, saw appreciable expansion. The fall in June represents 6 consecutive months of decline in the PMI reading. An approximate 348 billion naira has been lost in manufacturing to the new foreign exchange policy. This follows outstanding applications for dollar and letters of credit at 197 naira prior to the new FX regime. An outstanding LCs and dollar request of $4.02 billion were earlier bidded at an aggregate of 827 billion naira. However, the requests were honored at the launch of the new FX policy in June at 1.17 trillion naira. Meanwhile, manufacturers have warned that the economy risks more job losses and company closures as a result of the development. Nigeria's stock market remains bearish as investors continue to trade off some shares for profit, while Skybank stock added to that decline. Here is Bolaji Akinwale with details of today's activities.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The shares of the troubled lender Skybank falls 9.52% on Monday as the central bank dissolved the lender's board and appoints a caretaker committee. Ahead of the two-day Ramadan holiday starting on Tuesday, equity prices on the local bourse extend last week's decline, starting off the week down 1.02% on the general index, while the total market value went down by 1 billion naira. The market activity remained moderate as investors traded a total of 142.8 million shares, worth over 1.34 billion naira in 3,321 deals at the close of session. FBN Holdings, which has remained on the list of most active stocks, was the day's most dominant stock, followed by Zenith Bank and Access Bank. In price movement, the top gainers in percentage terms were Owando, Valer and Restar Express, up by 10.16%, 4.98% and 4.88%. While the day's top loser were Skybank, FBN Holdings and Fotoy, down by 9.52%, 5.13% and 5% accordingly. That is on the Stock Market Report. I am Bolaji Akinwale.
Thanks a lot, Bolaji. Major stock markets around the world ended Monday's trade session in mixed fortunes over regional, economic and political factors. Let's take a look. And that's Business News Tonight. The news at 10 continues in a moment. I am Adeshewa Josh.
You first. First Bank.
Still ahead on the news at 10, it's no trouble at all for top seeds Roger Federer, Andy Murray and Serena Williams as they cruise into the last 8 at Wimbledon. We'll have more in sports news. Please stay with us.